Hello and welcome to the Vented Media Podcast, Episode 3. I'm your one of the hosts, Ben. That's
I'm Dylan. Hi, Ben. Good to see
Hi
you
Dylan.
again.
Good to see you again too. It's been Thanksgiving week. It's one heck of a week. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
It's good. Currently, right now, I am traveling. As you can tell, I'm not in my normal workspace. I am currently in a hotel, but I brought, some of my podcast stuff. I'm actually made a video for it, so that'll be on the channel later this week of just my simple travel setup. Nothing crazy. I don't have all the big lights and whatnot, but just kind of show how it is. But I mean, I'm in St. George. I'm in St. George, Utah. But man, it's been a heck of a week. How was your week?
It's been pretty good. Pretty good. We were able to get a good Thanksgiving meal. So that means good Thanksgiving leftovers. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been a really, really nice, relaxed week. Not as much homework, still quite a bit, but yeah, no, it's been good.
That's great, man. That's great. Glad to hear it. I think that's the one thing about the holidays is that it kind of gives you time to relax a little bit, hopefully, but also gives you time to reflect and have a continuing thankful outlook for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no,
Yeah, there's
good,
definitely been a
good
bunch
stuff.
of things to be thankful for this year, especially, this is the year my wife and I got married. Got married right at the start of the pandemic, so everything just kind of went downhill as, we were preparing for the wedding. And yet, throughout all of that, we've been taken care of. We've been, um, we've just been able to get what we need, and even in some cases, give of what we have. So it's been a really, you know what, people say it's a crap year. I've rather enjoyed this year. It's been really nice.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel the same way. It's had its ups and downs, but it's a good week.
Yeah.
Good week, good year. So, dude, what have you been up to video wise?
What have I been up to video wise? So for our class, as you know, we have a final project that we're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been the post production guy on that. So I've been running all the editing, I've been running the sound design, and I just sent a draft to my team today, and got some notes on it. Most of them were really positive, and we're all just kind of really excited to see this play out. Uh, Mind if I throw it up on the screen?
Go for it, man. And I've already, so for everyone, I've already seen this video, and we're showing you guys just to show just how freaking talented Ben is.
Oh,
Um,
whatever.
he did a great job on this so far, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this because he did a freaking phenomenal job.
Whatever, man. I appreciate it. School
Hmm.
stuff, school exports. Um,
I'm excited.
Oh, dude, we having a nightmare or something?
Yeah, been up for 2 days studying for finals. It's messing up my dreams.
You gotta get more sleep, dude.
Thanks. Jeez.
and there is the project. Let me get this back to full screen. Yeah, there it is. It's not
That's
done,
awesome.
but it's getting there.
That's good stuff, man. That was awesome. Definitely definitely great work.
Thank
Just
you.
from watching it, seeing the handheld. That's kind of the way I've been shooting a lot of my videos a lot more lately. But the handheld to the lighting to all of that, I think you did a phenomenal job.
Thanks.
So
It wasn't all me. We had Noah Ferrero in my class who directed. Um, we had Benjamin Funk who wrote it. Isaac Rust who did the cinematography. But what I really liked about this group, and I don't say this about every group I work with, but I feel like we just meshed really well, and um, in a way that we could all give advice and each play a little bit of each role without stepping on others' toes, right? Like
right,
there was a yeah, let's do this because of X, Y, and Z, and there was also humility where it's like, oh yeah, let's try that, right? Instead of a no, I'm this is the way it should be, and it was really awesome working with a team like that, just because I was talking to you about this earlier, and I worry sometimes that, especially in the kind of creative world, we can get so preoccupied with our creative ideas and think we're so right that we turn into little creative divas and don't really let other ideas come into the project. But no,
right.
this group was really great about just everyone was humble, and it just yeah, we're all really proud of what we've come up with.
Well, I I can say the same thing about my group. Like it makes, and that's the one thing, especially like working with you. Um, it's easy to kind of get lost sometimes in the, oh, look at me, look at me. Uh, but when you find a group of people that just mesh well together, oh my goodness, it makes a world of the difference.
Yeah.
So I completely agree. I did, same thing with my group. It's at first you're kind of like, oh, how's everyone's ideas going to play in? But once it all started flowing, man, it. I think from the both of us, the people that we got assigned to work with as a group, we got very lucky.
We did, especially kind of hearing some of the how other classmates are struggling getting their projects done right now.
Exactly.
We were really lucky, and yeah, no, love the group. And what I really like is one of the things our teacher has been saying is that these are the people that you may work with for years to come, and so it's really cool to just kind of see everyone's different talents and how everyone works together, especially as we're planning a big project of our own and we want to pull in more team members. It's nice to see, okay, who can we actually rely on, who's going to be a useful tool on set, right? And who's just going to be fun to work with. So
Exactly. No, I agree 100%.
did you want to share your group project?
I wish I had it downloaded onto my computer. Uh, so for my group project, I was the main cinematographer and equipment guy because
Okay.
we
Yeah.
got all this stuff.
You're the
Uh,
gearhead.
I am the gearhead, but no, I mean I can try and quickly pull it up. But I mean for our project, it was something that when we were trying to think of different ways to make a simple yet kind of funny uh project.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I think I may be able to open it up. Let's see. Yes, possibly. Let's,
Ba-da-da-da-da-ba-da.
okay,
This
here
is
we
now
go.
the acapella podcast
That's all.
as we wait for Dylan to pull it up.
Okay, so here we share, optimize.
Don't forget to click share computer sound because that's what I
I
forgot to do.
I think I think that pulled it up. Let's start. Can you hear that?
Yep.
Oh,
Hi, I'm Joe Mama, and I'm here to give you 3 simple tips on how to begin dating. Step 1, let's go finding. Don't be a sissy, go find that missy. Step 2, introduce yourself.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Brock.
You don't have to do that.
Step 3, get her number.
Can I get your contact information?
Sure.
These simple steps, you'll be on your way.
This has been a public service announcement.
Nice.
Yeah. Very simple. And you can listen from I mean, this is one thing too, is we had very basic sound design, but looking at the difference between your video and our video, yours had like a intense kind of dramatic, while ours kind of more like a cheesy, fun,
Right.
lighthearted. So.
No, absolutely. And I think it fits that style really well. What I really liked, and you said Julian did the After Effects, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I was really impressed with all the tracking and the kind of scan and zoom. That worked really well and pretty funny. And there were little sound effects there that worked really well with that. So, yeah, good job, man.
Yeah, that zoom actually. So kind of as this kind of goes back into planning out your shots before you do them, and you probably felt the exact same way. One of the things that we did to get that zoom effect is we actually I took my camera, I kind of did like a little pan back and forth, but then to get the zoom in, I had my 24 to 70 millimeter lens on it, so I started out wide, and as I did the pan back and forth, it was wide, but when I kind of locked on her, I quickly zoomed in the lens, and it just really made it, fit when it zoomed in with the Terminator effect, basically.
Right.
When it zoomed in, it just made it so much easier in post. So you didn't, because we shot at 1080p, just to make it easy for us to edit. But then because I shot it that way, you didn't lose quality, you didn't lose resolution, and you still had the same exact effect. And it fits with a zoom more than just a crop in.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And I guess that kind of goes into, what we've kind of learned this past week from our video projects. And one of the things I learned was a lot about lighting, right? And so when, none of us really had lighting gear, we had to rent lighting gear from the school. Now, what we didn't realize when we rented lighting gear from the school is that they wouldn't give us C-stands for the lights, right?
That's right. I remember you telling me that. I do remember you telling me that you didn't have any stands for it.
So it was me and the other Ben in our group standing up and basically holding these lights in our hands as still as possible. And we were thinking while we were outside, it was like, do we really want to try and chase this guy around to make sure he's perfectly lit in every scenario? Right? And so that kind of, for me, I had a Jimmy Neutron brain blast of motivated lighting, right?
Right.
And making sure your lighting, why is the lighting there? What's it's doing? What is its intention and purpose? And for us, we decided to make the lighting a character, where the lighting and these lights that were chasing our main character were the lights of the UFO, were the lights of these aliens. And by doing that, we were able to light our subject and have him, well lit, even in, as the sun was fading, as we were losing light. We were able to keep him well lit while it making sense. And not just like he had a whole lighting crew with him in the middle of a forest. It was like, nope, there was one scene I remember we were, not being good, not doing what we should, but running on train tracks, don't do that. That's dangerous, bad. But we were chasing him with our lights and just sweeping them back and forth. And they had this really cool effect where it just plunged him into darkness and then it'd be illuminated, darkness, illuminated. And it gave a searching effect. And really added to this chase scene. And yeah, so I motivated lighting. That was something we really kind of learned, and I felt was a really strong point of our video, just how everything was lit and how the lighting kind of made the audience feel. We were just really proud of that. So
Yeah, no, and I think motivated lighting, as this being our topic of the week for our learning thing, like even just looking at the way that we're starting to learn to light our podcast. Like my light, it's not what I want today. This isn't usually how it is, but compared to my other weeks, I kind of have a little bit more sculpted, a little bit more nicer. But like, let's just look at your lights so far right now. Your lights have gotten amazing, and you have one simple light in front of you to be your key light, and then you have a simple lamp behind you to give you that nice kind of, not really hair light, I'd say, but more of just like a backfill that, before when you just had on your key light, it was too dark off to your left side. But
I
having
just kind
that
of blended in and fell to be a part of the background.
Exactly. That backfill light has changed the game. And so, like, if I wanted to destroy this room, not really, I don't want to destroy anything.
Right.
But, like, if I want to, like, make my setup the way I'd want it to be, honestly, what I would have done, would have put my laptop and the desk right in front of this window. And I would have had a nice, full, nicely diffused light. Wouldn't even need this little light that I have right here. But then I'd have that nice full fill. But then it wouldn't be enough, honestly. Like your light behind you, you need to have something to separate you from the background. That's kind of why I wear a little bit brighter clothing.
Right.
But, what I would do is there's lamps all over behind me. And that would have created more separation between me and the camera. And while this is only my laptop camera today, it would have helped everything. Maybe I could have elevated my, if I'd elevated my laptop or done something like that, as important as that is, separating myself from the background will make way more of a difference. And having motivated lighting will make any film look better.
Right. And that is one thing I keep seeing an ad for on YouTube, right? Is this guy who's, he's selling a videography basics course, but I found his concept really interesting because he shows you footage of a red, I think he uses like a red 6K camera where he's got nothing right? And he's not using any of the videography basics. He's not using lighting. He's not using framing. Everything's crap. And he's like, yeah, this looks like crap. So why does this like $800 DSLR look better than the red? And it's all about these fundamental basics. Because my webcam, it's nothing fancy. I picked it up at Walmart for $20 to do Zoom classes, and 720p, real crappy video, but it'll look even crappier if I didn't have lighting, Right. And so getting those basics and really kind of understanding why things work or why things don't work is gonna set you apart no matter what gear you have.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And it definitely makes a difference. Lighting, that is the one thing that I stressed. I feel like I stressed a little bit more than anything else last week was you need to find out whether you have to buy lights or you have to make lights around your house do. You need to understand how to light. Like if you think of so I used to do a lot with plays. I used to work as one of the lead tech people. And what I would do is, for the sets, we would go up and we'd take and modify our lights, whether we'd use gels or gobos. I think that's a proper term. If not, that's what our...
No idea.
Yeah, gobo is basically something that you'd put in front of the... It's basically a stencil that you'd put in front of it to create different effects. If you want like leaves or something, make it like you're in a forest.
Gotcha.
You just put something in front of the light, but you'd take and the way you'd manipulate those lights would give a completely different story. And so, that is something that I've learned from that. And like I said, you could get a gimbal, you could get, you could get a really cool backpack. These things, they sound cool, they sound great, but the sooner you can get a decent camera with really good lights and pretty good audio, you can get up and start filmmaking in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So.
Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
Lights and audio. Audio especially. One of the things that we were really lucky about, because we filmed this, our project, on Noah's Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, right? Mm-hmm. And
Right.
one of the things I did not expect was for the audio to be so crisp and so clean. Mm-hmm. And when going through and editing this, I thought I was going to have to do a whole bunch of ADR. I was joking, because we didn't want really too much interaction and too much traveling, people's places. I was like, I'll just do the ADR myself. I'll do all the panting and all that, and I'll get sound effects of crumpling leaves and whatnot. But the camera the microphone on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema was so good and so crisp and clean that I ended up just using the internal microphone's recording for all the sound effects. And I didn't think I'd be able to do that. That was something that I never thought I'd be able to do, but for whatever reason, it just worked. That's not something I'd recommend a lot, because I know for my little Sony a6000, the microphone's absolute garbage and picks up so much noise.
Right.
But yeah, make sure you've got clean audio, because that can make or break a film.
Yeah. Well, even last week, so this is, this little easy, like a $20 stand. Mm-hmm. It brought my microphone right up close to my mouth.
Yeah.
When we were listening back to this, this microphone, $40, nothing crazy. Mm-hmm. Just bringing it closer to me to not having it at all, it's like complete night and day.
Oh yeah.
I can't even, like, when I was asking Ben about how he got done with this video, I was like, Ben, what did you do to make my voice sound different? He's like, honestly, I did very minimal things. Like,
I didn't do anything. I just cut out all the moments of silence. I didn't add any EQ or anything like that. So
$40, bring it close to you. It's the same principle with the video, bringing that microphone as close to you, but also making sure you have good audio. Like, on my Sony a6400, my microphone currently is the Rode Video Micro. It's a very small, very inexpensive $60 mic. It's great when the microphone is right here,
Yeah.
But the moment that it gets a foot and a half away from me, it starts to lose it.
Right.
And so recently I just picked up the DD D3 Pro. Not sponsored, but DD, if you're listening, please sponsor.
Oh, heck yeah.
But this microphone that I'm getting, it is a shotgun mic. It is I'm pretty positive it's a hypercardioid mic. Mm-hmm. I believe that's how they pronounce it. But it's so directional and it's so focused that I can't begin to tell you how much of a difference I'll make. Like, I did a shoot 2 weeks ago and of myself for a class project, and I used my Video Micro, and because it's not very directional, mm-hmm. all of a sudden the fan above it kicked on because we were recording at the school, and luckily I was able to save it with Audition. But that was a very big issue, and had I had something that was a little bit more directional and maybe even closer to me, that wouldn't have been such a big problem.
Right. Yeah. So, it's hard getting good controlled sound, especially when you're in these kind of chaotic environments that you don't have much control over.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's why you see most big Hollywood productions, they're not filming out in a real forest. They're filming on a sound stage where they can control control that audio. But we, and most people who want to get into this kind of stuff don't have that luxury. So it's finding not only the tools but the tricks that help you minimize all that kind of background noise and control what you are actually picking up. That's really gonna help you out.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. But I think this was a great week. One, learning audio better, and two, understanding directional lighting. Because as much as I used very minimal lighting, I basically used my Godox VL50, and I just used it to fight the sun. But still, you have to know how to do that to make it not look like it's just another light.
Right. So for the shot you showed where they're backlit by the sun, were you then using the Godox to kind of help destroy, kind of bring up those harsh shadows that would have come if they were just completely backlit?
Yes. Can you hear that vacuum in the background, by the way? If you can, I'm so sorry.
I cannot.
They just turned it off.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
Okay, let's hope that this didn't pick it up. Like I said, I'm in a hotel, so it's still a cleaning hour.
Right.
Oh, how about that? Can you hear that?
No, still can't hear it. I think we're good.
We're good. Perfect. Okay. But yeah. Nope, I just used the Godox VL150. It's awesome. Having 150 watts and a big softbox totally helped. I basically used it as almost, as much as it was the key light, I almost had to use it in a fill light to make sure I was having the proper exposure on this side of the face just as much as on this side of the face.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, it looked good. It looked good. You were able, because I know how shooting against, that harsh light of the sun by a window can really darken up the other side of the face. So, yeah, you did a really good job of bringing that back up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shall we go on to our video news section?
Yes, let's have you talk about yours first.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm a PC guy. I've been adamantly against Macs because of their price. And the price to power ratio. Until now. And oh boy, am I kind of eating my words a little bit. But we're going to play a little game here where I'm going to tell you what this little Mac Mini can do, and you're going to guess the price of this model. Okay?
Okay.
So,
I haven't looked. I was thinking about looking while you're talking about it, but I have not looked at it.
So, this Mac Mini, right? It has an 8-core processor with also an 8-core GPU. Fantastic, right? And for reference, I run a Ryzen 3600 in my system, and that's a 6-core processor. And I don't know how many cores my GPU has. I don't keep up with that, but so it can run raw footage up to 6K with color correction without dropping frames. And then in 8K, it and this is within DaVinci Resolve with red raw footage. This is just the video I watched and the examples he was giving. But this is with no proxies. This is with no render cache or anything like that. And with 8K, he was able to edit it when cutting it down to half resolution.
Okay.
How much do you think a machine like this costs that can, basically edit 8K raw footage just in proxy mode?
Well, just thinking back to their giant iMac like a few years ago and how even sluggish that could have been, just because you're making it sound too good to be true, I'm just going to start out and say with $1,300. Just
Decrease that by half. $699. $699 for the Mac Mini that, from the videos I have watched, in DaVinci Resolve was able to edit 8K raw footage. Now that is with a proxy, right?
Right.
But
still.
$6.99 for 8K raw footage and 6K raw footage without a proxy.
Now, you're saying Mac Mini. Like, this isn't like the new little MacBook Air, right? We're talking about something completely different, right?
So this isn't the MacBook Air. This isn't the Mac or the MacBook Pro. I believe the MacBook Air starts at $999 and the MacBook Pro starts at $1,200. And that's, because they're in laptop form. They've got the screens and all that jazz. The Mac Mini is literally just the little box that's a desktop, basically. And that's why it's cheaper, is because, they don't provide the monitor. It doesn't have the built-in keyboard or mouse. It's literally just a box with the guts and the brains of the laptop inside of it. $699 for all of that horsepower, and DaVinci Resolve isn't even optimized for this processor yet, right? With the Apple M1 chips, they've switched away from Intel, so that means that any processor or any app that has not been specifically built for Apple to use Apple's new processors, such as Final Cut Pro, that's an optimized app for this processor. Any other app is running an emulation. So not only does this Mac Mini have to go up against 8K footage, 6K footage, whatever, but it's also running it in emulation mode, which means when these apps that actually come out specifically designed for this chipset, when they are released, you're going to see a huge performance boost, and the bar is already really, really, you already are seeing a lot of performance, and there's only going to be more performance through software updates.
Right, and so I'm currently looking at it right now, and so like the cool thing that I'm seeing, it seems like it's very, very modular, and if that because I clicked the next, so I clicked the 30 or 3.2, I think it's gigahertz Intel Core i7 with 16 gigabyte memory, 512
is this the Mac
gigabytes.
Mini?
Yeah, this is the Mac Mini. This is I'm kind of like speccing it out basically. Right. Like, even still, if I was to say specced out at what I would at least start out with, I'd probably have 32 gigabyte memory with a storage of, I'd say 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a good starting storage.
That'd be a good starting storage for a little internal. Even still, okay, with what you're telling me, this thing is going to be $2,100.
Yeah.
That's pretty, and that's spec'd out. I even do the 10 gigabyte Ethernet. Let's see if I can take out that. If I just did the gigabyte Ethernet. That is, it's loading. Oh yeah. So I am just sitting right under $2,000.
Right.
With a gigabit Ethernet, the 3.2 gigahertz Intel Core memory, 32 gigabytes. That is crazy, because the iMac or the MacBook Pro 16-inch runs, I think right now, for almost $3,000.
Right.
And this, basically all you need is a monitor and Apple's little magic keyboard, and boom, you are up and going. You are rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And so, no, I think that it's pretty interesting to just think how far we've come with small technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a brain. It's just a brain. That's all it is.
Yeah. And what's incredible to me is this is the cheapest model, right? You can upgrade the Mac Mini, but the cheapest model, $699, handling 8K footage, this is a game changer. I mean, this genuinely excites me, and especially with this chipset being in its first generation, right? Second generation is usually when all the leaps and bounds of progress occurs. So, I'd be looking out in a year from now, because in a year from now, you're not only just going to have the second generation chipset, which is going to be better in a technological way, but also you're going to have all the software that is going to be finally updated to work with this chipset. And so you're just going to have these blazing fast machines, and for a surprisingly cheap price that might actually make it cheaper than building an actual PC. And that's insane.
Well, oh yeah, for sure. And if you're thinking about it in like cheapness value wise, like this, like I said, this is spec'd out. Even if this is what we're looking at as a base thing, think about, say, what if they started to add liquid cooling to it? Like what if they start adding small fans? What if they start to do that? This just goes to show that they're starting to, because also thinking back to it, this has, I'm pretty positive, the new M1 chip in it. Actually, no, the one with
the one with the M1 chip, I believe, only goes to 8 gigabytes of RAM on the Mac
That's
Mini.
right. That's what I'm looking at right here. Yeah, but still though, like I feel like it's starting to show that Apple coming back to its original core, because you think back to how Apple originally started, it was very exclusive, but when you had that exclusiveness, you actually were getting something that people were looking at and like, wow, I'm actually getting something more than what someone else is doing.
Right.
Lately, over the past few years, we haven't seen that. I mean, look at the iPhone. I mean, you look at the new iPhone 12 Pro, it literally looks like the iPhone 5.
Right.
Like, it's cool, it has great specs in it. But even that phone, you're looking inside of it, and they did something that was different from like the 11 Pro. Yeah, they added a new camera, but it really wasn't that much different from the iPhone 10.
Right.
It really shows Apple is coming back to itself and saying, we're going to give the average consumer more like we used to.
Yeah, absolutely. And with what's great about this is it'll drive competition, right? I can see, because what they've done with their little processor is they've basically stuck in every single component into one processor so that they're all speaking the same language. They're all from the same place. Because with a PC, I've got a processor from Ryzen, RAM from, I don't know, Corsair maybe, and a graphics card from NVIDIA. With this, it's all Apple. Everything's Apple. They speak the Apple language, and they're integrated into one chip instead of being several different components.
Right.
Now, what I can see potentially happening is AMD combining their Ryzen processors with their Ryzen GPUs and saying, and integrating those into one chipset. And we might see motherboards kind of adapt to follow this trend. But I'm really excited because I think this is a big stepping point for price to performance ratio that we just haven't seen in a long time.
I agree 100%. And, I like stuff like this. I like, whether it's a camera, whether it could be a car, it could be anything. When a company innovates, it changes the industry. That's why we see now a huge push in mirrorless cameras, that all from one camera, the Sony a7 III.
Right.
Before that, every company besides Sony was really, really holding on to their DSLR lines.
Yeah.
But once that Sony a7 III dropped, now you got Canon. They released their, in a matter of the Sony a7 III has been on the market for almost 3 years now. It's been over for 2, for sure. But, in that time, Canon has released the EOS R. The EOS RP, the M6 Mark II, the what is it? The R5 and the R6.
Yep.
And now those cameras are like pretty happening. Nikon's done the same thing with their Z7, Z6, Z6 Mark II, Z6 or Z7 Mark II. But you're seeing it, and not only that, it's very much geared towards videographers as well.
Right.
Because we're seeing that big change in that trend shift from TikTok, Facebook, social media. People want to make videos, and they're putting it into very easy cameras. Like, even so, my backup camera is the Sony a6400. My girlfriend, she isn't a photographer or a videographer by any means. But yesterday, while we were walking around hiking, I handed my 6400 to her, and she, we call it the Amy camera because that's my girlfriend's name.
Right.
Shout out to my girlfriend, Amy. But basically, this camera, it's not too hard to understand.
Right.
She could pick it up, she could start using it, and that's also a big change. You're seeing a lot more basic cameras for people who don't really understand what they're doing yet, but they still are having fun with it.
Right.
So it's exciting. It's exciting times.
It
We're
really
in an
is.
exciting phase. So
It really is. And that brings me into my second video news, where I like to talk a lot about Blender and its great innovations. And they have released 2.8 came out earlier this year, I believe. And now they've released 2.91. And this is, I believe, don't quote me exactly, but the third big update Blender has released within the past year. And the changes and the amount of features they're adding is just phenomenal, especially for a free program that is funded by donations, literally.
right.
I mean, they've made updates to their interface to make it more learner-friendly. They're kind of bringing down that learning curve so it's more accessible to people. They are doing little things with organization that you'd think, oh yeah, this should be able to, you should be able to do this, like color coding different collections of scenes and whatnot. Would have thought you could do it. Now you can for sure. They've updated their physics engine so that you can do more complex physics simulations easier. And they've updated their animation so that the animation is easier to control. It's easier to get keyframes exactly where you want them, do walk cycles and all that jazz. They've just made it easier. And for a free program where the bar to entry is low and the only thing stopping so many people from entering it is the steep learning curve, bringing that learning curve down and making it more of that kind of gradual slope is going to be, it's going to be great for the people who really want to get into this kind of stuff but just don't know how. So go awesome. Blender, go all of these great innovations that are just making it so much easier for filmmakers and every artist, really.
Exactly. No, I really, really support companies that do that. Companies, programs, softwares, no matter what. If they can make it easy and affordable and available, because that's the other thing. If it's not really well known, and that's like podcasts like us now, we're trying to get these little programs out so the struggling college kid can say, wow, this is available for me to start today. There's not very many barriers to entry. There isn't very many things that say, you can't really do this. You need to create, or you need to, really have some experience. They make it so that you could hop in and start learning. And with YouTube and Skillshare and things like that nowadays, the ways that we now find information is so insurmountable. You can't find anything that you couldn't do this 10 years ago. You couldn't. You just physically couldn't.
Right.
But now two guys from BYU, Idaho. Go Idaho, but you know.
Yeah, college.
I mean,
A college
no,
where the
you-
tuition is
yeah.
$2,000. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're almost up to a quarter. Woo, but we literally have started something, and literally all the equipment that we have, it's not very expensive. And that's one thing that I kind of hit on today with my video that I was making for, my on the go podcasting setup. Literally everything, there's very few things. The only thing that really kind of costs more money was my little light right here.
Right.
But even still, I could turn it off and possibly use this lamp.
Yeah.
Podcasting, we signed up for free.
Yes. Thank you, Anchor.fm. You've probably already heard that advertisement at the beginning of this, but it's available. It's there.
Yeah, no, it is there. But, it is just super, super amazing where we're at with technology and everything. So, now for me, for my video news, it isn't anything crazy and spectacular. But this week, with it being Thanksgiving week, we get Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Basically, this is the perfect time for anyone who's wanting to go on a budget for filmmaking. You need kind of like a camera to start out with, and I want to do lights and microphones and things like that, but a lot of those things really haven't changed in price too much. Maybe it'll save you $50, which is still a lot. It's still a lot. Not saying anything against it, but really, I see that because it's the end of 2020. Camera companies are getting rid of their cameras from the previous couple of years and are getting ready for 2021 updates.
Yeah.
So with that, we're starting to get a lot of price slashes, and I don't think we're gonna really see them go up too much until the end of the year. So if you guys are looking for cameras, I've made 3 categories of cameras and their prices and things that come with it. This is all off of B&H. This isn't sponsored by B&H. I love B&H though because they give you great deals. It's always updating, and it's always, I can pull out my phone at any time and check.
Right.
And so if you look today, if you look tomorrow, you'll be able to see these updates really fast. But, for right now, for Black Friday, some of these deals, it is insane. I'll get into it really fast. Starting with the first category of beginner cameras, the Canon SL3 as a very beginner DSLR camera that's great for video. It has a flip out touchscreen. It's got 4K. This camera typically is $699. On sale right now for $499. This is body only, so you will have to think about that. You will need to still get a lens.
Right.
But with that lens, you can basically, without having a lens on it, you can say, well, I can get now, maybe a 50mm f1.4 or even the 20. I think as a great camera to pair this up with to get a nice, decent focal length that you could do anything, the 24mm f1.8.
Okay.
It's $150 as well as the 50mm f1.4. Or not f1.4, I wish. The f1.8.
Yeah.
But right there, you basically, the money that you would have spent just to get body only for the SL3, you now get a body only with a great lens, and that focal length will equate out to about 35mm, which is my favorite focal length. But you get that for $499.
Nice.
Body only, the Canon SL3. The second one in this category is the Panasonic G7. This, in my opinion, is a camera that can really start anyone in filmmaking. Now, you get with this the 14 to 42mm kit lens with the accessory kit. Okay, so this is the cleaning. I think you get a small little bag.
Okay.
You get an SD card. You get all of this for $497.
Nice.
So you get the lens, everything. You are ready to rock and roll. All you need is a microphone, and you now have a great camera that's going to carry you for a little bit until you want to upgrade a lens.
Right.
But for $499, you cannot beat that.
Absolutely not, man. Yeah.
And I like it. Still has a flip out touch screen. So great for angles, great for anyone who wants to get into vlogging. Even though the autofocus isn't the best, it is still a phenomenal little camera.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Well,
so
especially paired
those
with that 14 millimeter lens right there. That is
Oh,
a
yeah.
great vlogging camera.
Yeah, that 14 millimeter, when it's equal, because it is a micro four thirds camera, so you have to think about the sensor size. It will be about 24 millimeters, but 24 millimeters on a vlogging camera is not bad.
Yeah.
That's perfect, honestly. Now, going into the mid-level cameras, okay? The first camera that I want to talk about is the Canon 80D, okay? This is a few years old as a camera. It came out in 2016, but you get the kit lens with this one. You get that for $899. It's $200 than the Canon, or no, it's about $300 more than the Canon SL3 for this sale, but you get a lens included.
Right.
So you are going to get off and running even faster. Now, the cool thing about the ADD is one thing that's really important with a camera. You need to be able to monitor your audio in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, you do get the little like the dB bars that tell you how loud your camera's reading sound. But as accurate as that is, you don't get to hear like what else it's hearing, whether a fan's on or you're hearing people talk behind the camera and you need them to be quiet.
Right.
The Canon 80D has a headphone jack as well.
Nice. That's really nice.
So it has its dual pixel autofocus, which is phenomenal. I love the Canon dual pixel autofocus. But having that 18 to 55 millimeter, that's a great range to allow you to vlog. It's going to allow you to get a little bit more tight shots. It is a kit lens, so keep that in mind. But you're still going to go way far with this camera,
Right.
in my opinion.
I've also found in my time kind of searching that Canon EF mount lenses tend to be pretty cheap compared to Sony lenses or Nikon lenses. If you're going to get a lens kit, Canon is a pretty solid option because, like you said, they offer that 24 millimeter or 28 millimeter. Is it 28 or 24?
24
millimeter and the 50 millimeter at f1.8 for like 150 each. And that's a pretty dang good price. I was looking at the same thing for Sony, and they're like $600. So yeah, Canon lenses, they will get you far, and they look super clean. So
Yeah. Even though both those two lenses are plastic, that the $150 ones, I know people who love those lenses, especially for the fact if they accidentally break one, they're not dropping $700. They're dropping $150,
Right.
which still, while it is a lot, you don't have to worry as much. So, okay, the next one, the Sony A6100. Right now with the 16-55 millimeter kit lens, this is $848. So it's about $50 cheaper than the 80D. Both of them cut their kit lens. It's about the same focal length. It doesn't have the flip out very angle touchscreen. It just kind of rotates up, so you can kind of use it as a vlogging camera if you want to. But the reason why I like the 6100, especially for this price, because usually it is about $100 more expensive.
right.
But the reason why I like this camera in this budget, as the mid-level camera, it does have a microphone input,
Yes.
which is very important. It also has a really, really fast autofocus system. It's the top that Sony's come out with lately. And so you're really getting a good camera with a decent lens. It's not the most pro lens. No kit lens really is, but it will get you far enough for a while.
Right. And let me kind of attest, because I have a Sony kit lens. It's the 16 to 50 or 16 to 55, something around there, with an aperture of 3.6 to 5.6, I believe. Right. So
Yeah.
not the fastest lens out there, but we were using it out in the dark, and we used it as a secondary lens on that shoot. Didn't end up using any of the shots because we really
Is
need
this
to cut
is this
down
your
time.
project? This is your project from last week,
This
right?
is my project
What-
that I showed just now.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
We didn't end up using any of the shots, but we were surprised how well, and this is a generation before, it's a Sony a6000, how well this little tiny Sony mirrorless camera was holding up with a kit lens against a Blackmagic 4K with a with like this cheap Chinese it's not cheap Chinese, but it was a cinema lens that he found on eBay. But still, had a faster aperture, better sensor, and this little Sony mirrorless camera was holding its own. So I will highly recommend these Sony mirrorless cameras. I personally love them.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's great. Now, this last camera, I hesitate talking about these cameras just for the fact of how limited their mount is. But this is the Canon M6 Mark II.
Okay.
This camera came out mid of last year. It is a great camera. It basically is a mirrorless version of the Canon 90D. It's the newer version of the Canon 80D that we talked about earlier. But it has a few more specs. Now, I feel like the reason why it's dropping in price is because Canon is rumored to be dropping their M mount line because of the RF line for the Canon EOS R and the RP and the R5 and R6. It's a phenomenal mount, the RF mount. The M mount, there really hasn't been a lot of even third-party camera companies or camera lens companies to make lenses for it. So I feel like Canon's kind of like, we're gonna invest our money elsewhere.
Right.
But you can still adapt the EF lenses. Going back to Canon's EF camera lenses, they're great. Now, this camera, for its price, I don't think that the other two, like if you're trying to get a camera mount that will last you a long time,
Right.
get the first two. But with this M mount, okay, and for this deal, you get I won't tell you how much it is just yet.
Okay.
You get the 15 to 45 millimeter M mount, which is a pretty good focal length. You get this EVF. It's basically an EVF that plugs into the hot shoe, and because this camera, it doesn't come with a viewfinder.
Okay.
But you can put this EVF into the hot shoe, and now you do have a viewfinder, and it is pretty clear. It is amazing with this technology that they put. I wish that more camera companies would do this. So you get this little EVF that goes into it, and then you also get an accessory kit that comes with a small bag, an SD card, and a little cleaning kit. Okay,
All right.
$8.99,
Not bad.
the same price as the Canon 80D. But you're getting a newer camera with the updated processor.
Yeah.
You're getting it with 4K, 24p. It does have 1080p, 60 frames a second slow motion. It does have a headphone input. And it's newer. So this is a camera that I feel like if you are wanting a camera to really get into filmmaking, this is a great option because it has so many great features to go with it, and it's also $8.99.
Right.
So for my cameras I've talked about so far in this mid-level range, this is a great camera, given the fact that it has the M mount, which is dying.
Yes.
So if you do get this camera, I would recommend getting the EF to M mount adapter, and don't get any of the M mount lenses. Only get EF lenses, because you can use EF lenses for any camera. Like, you could use it on most cinema cameras because it is an EF. If you do get like a camera like a Sony or a Panasonic, EF lenses can be adapted to those, and it is literally the best adapted system. So if anyone's listening to this, don't get any lenses with it besides EF lenses.
Right.
So when you do sell this camera body, you can retain those lenses. Now, the last one, the little prosumer, and I only have a couple cameras, and I'm only going to quickly talk about these, especially the last one. The last one is amazing. Okay, so the first one is the Canon EOS RP. It is their full frame camera. This is $100 more than the Canon M6 Mark II.
Wow.
Okay, this is going for basically $1,000, $999. But it comes with the 24 to 105 kit lens.
Oh, wow. That gives you a lot of versatility right there.
Yes, it is still the variable aperture one, so it is the 3.6 to 7.1, so it does get a little bit darker on the far end. But it gets you into the Canon full frame line. It also gets you into their RF mount lenses. Yep. So for basically $1,000, you do get a nice camera that is mirrorless, that has a great sensor, and has a lens, all for $1,000.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Now, the next camera is the Sony A7 Mark II. I have the Sony A7 Mark III, so this camera that I'm talking about is the previous version. It is going for $998, so $1 cheaper than the RP.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I put this camera in here is because it has IBIS. It has the in-body image stabilization. Okay, this was one of the first cameras that Sony implemented with this, and it was great. It was a nice little camera. It still had 120 frames a second, or I wish it had 120 frames a second. It still has 60 frames a second slow motion, but it gets you into the Sony full frame line at a very affordable price.
Right.
You will have to get more batteries for it because it does have the old Sony batteries, which really weren't great, but I feel like that you can get those batteries pretty cheap nowadays. So I think that you can get by with it. And having that kit lens, it was a great kit lens. When I first had my Sony, that's all I had for it, besides my film lenses. So I made it work, and it did great. It was a decent little lens to start out with. But yeah, for $998, I think it's a great little camera, especially the in-body image stabilization. That's something that the Canon EOS RP doesn't have.
Right.
The next two cameras, okay? So these one of them is from, I think both of them are actually from 2016. But you don't usually hear a lot about these cameras because it's not like the big contenders like Canon, Nikon, or Sony. But they do have a great feature. So basically, sorry. So my girlfriend's been waiting for me to get done this podcast, and she just came and gave me the puppy dog eyes.
Aww.
Yeah, it's because I only get to see her every now and again. So after I only have a few more things, and we're gonna have to start to wrap this up, so I can spend some time with her before I have to go back to Idaho, because I'm just here for a little bit in St. George. But so these last two cameras. So the first one is the Panasonic GH5. This camera shaped the video industry in a DSLR form factor, because it has 422 10-bit internal. It has 4K. It has 1080p up to 180 frames a second. So great slow motion. Had a microphone input. It had a headphone input. It had a great HDMI out for external monitors. You cannot beat a Panasonic's in-body image stabilization. You cannot beat its IBIS.
Right.
It is so smooth. And so that camera typically goes for about $2,000, okay? Body only. You can get it when it first came out, that's what it was like. for right now, for Black Friday, their sale is $1,300.
Wow.
Is $1,297. You have saved $800.
Yeah.
Now, given this is body only with the accessory kit. Okay, this is what the cleaning, the bag, and the SD card. Now, if it was me, because you just saved so much money, okay, I would invest in whether a Rokinon Cine lens, like one of their 24mm manual focus, that's Canon EF, going back to the Canon EF. You could adapt any Canon lens to it. So you could get a 50mm, you could get a 24-70. You could get old vintage glass for this and put that onto this camera, and you have a professional DSLR mirror. It's technically a mirrorless camera. You have a professional mirrorless video camera.
Yeah.
And so as a prosumer, this camera being this price, you're like what? This is insane.
Absolutely.
So the GH5 right now, this is a deal that I feel like a lot of people should jump on. And then the last one, this is just the Fujifilm X-T3. Okay, I do like Fujifilm. I like Sony for the fact that I'm still kind of a photographer. And I like the Sony colors. So, but if it wasn't for that aspect, I like the look, I like the feel, I like the style of Fujifilm. Their X-T3 currently, and let me make sure because I was kind of writing this one down last minute. So this comes with it's loading. So this setup currently comes with the 18 to 50mm lens and their accessory kit.
Okay.
Okay. It is $1,400. Typically with this setup right now, or before, it would go for about $2,100.
Yeah.
So you're saving once again $700, almost $800.
Yeah.
It does have a great color science. It has a nice flip out touchscreen. And it's just a phenomenal little camera. I really enjoy it, and like I said, this is a camera that I feel that people should jump on for this time frame. The X-T4 is out right now. That camera has some great specs, some great features, but the X-T3 kind of shaped Fujifilm in their more consumer, prosumer based lineup of video and photo, not just photo,
Right.
not just video.
Right.
So yeah, no, those are my cameras for the holidays, especially for Black Friday.
Nice.
So if you guys are looking for, great cameras for the price and for the budget, you could go from, the very starting of this list, which is I'd honestly say the starting of this list is the Panasonic G7. For $500. Okay?
Right.
All the way up to the top camera for this is the Fujifilm X-T3, which is $1,400.
Right.
So none of these cameras are that expensive.
Yeah.
Like while $1,400 is expensive, like with what you're getting out of it, it won't make you say, "Oh man, I'm hindering myself by not getting something higher."
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about all these cameras is if you learn the basics of videography, you can make any one of these work.
Yeah, all of them, every single one.
So
these cameras, I spent most like this morning really going through and seeing what some of the best deals were on good cameras. So no, these are my recommendations, and I feel like with any of these cameras, anyone's gonna be happy with them.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
So-
man. Sweet. Shills for
Yeah,
the
dude.
capitalist system we are, and we're not even getting paid for it. What are we doing with our lives?
I mean, technically, we do have almost a quarter.
Almost a quarter. Keep listening, and maybe we'll make it to 30 cents this week. Woo!
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, but no, I think for this episode, just because it is still the holiday season and we probably still have things that we want to do, I think we're gonna keep this episode just a little bit shorter. But starting next week, getting back into it, I think we're gonna get back up to a full episode. And I say that, but I mean currently
we've been
we
going
are
for like an hour and a half, I think.
yeah, an hour 12 minutes. So I mean it's not too much shorter, but maybe a little bit more organization next week, just because we are traveling. This is holiday season. We have so many things going on. But thank you everyone for listening, though. I mean, I think this was a really good video.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always enjoy making these, man. Ooh, that voice crack. All right, let's go.
I liked it.
I really enjoy making these. It's always fun and always insightful too. I love like the little things you bring to the table, because we'll talk about it on the phone a little bit, but we'll leave most of it for the podcast. And no, I always feel like I learned something. So yeah, no, love it.
Yeah, same. But to everyone who listens to this podcast, thank you so much. Share it with your friends. That's how right now, with us being so small, we need these shares. We need people to hear it and to know that there are still people who are trying to start out with something.
Yep.
You look at big time YouTube, YouTubers and big podcasters. This is episode 3. Do we expect to have a huge following right now? No.
Nah, not at all.
But we would love it. We would love to get to a point where people could listen and say, wow, look at the way that these people are doing their podcast. They actually have something that is worth bringing to the table.
Yeah. And not only that, we hope like what we share on this podcast can help you guys as filmmakers, whether starting or down the road a little bit, and just help you, I mean, in this case, find the gear you need. But we just want to help, because we've needed help, and we've learned a lot of things in that kind of need for help, and we just want to share that with you guys. And I mean, one of the things, real quick, I'll say this, one of the things I've kind of wanted to do is create a course on Blender specifically for the student filmmaker, addressing what are the specific limitations that a student filmmaker would face, and how can we use Blender, a free open source program, to overcome those limitations. And we'd have varying levels of difficulty, but that is a plan. Stay tuned. Could come some kind in the future. Probably, January 2021 is what it's looking like. But yeah.
Awesome, dude. We're excited. I'm excited to watch it because I would love to learn more. And it's not like we don't. Right now with us, we're about to wrap up this semester, so we're gonna get a little bit more time. But I think that we do have some things coming into 2021 that it's going to be exciting for the both of us and for all of you. So no, thank you all so much for listening to episode 3. This has been a great week, and we are already looking forward to talking to you all next week.
Yes, sir. All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Yep. Have a happy holiday.
See you later.